Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Tonight we delve into the dark heart of fear itself, exploring the chilling tales of those who dared to venture out after the sun dipped below the horizon. Tonight we have two chilling night drive scary stories that will make you think twice before hitting the road after dark. Stories whispered in hushed tones, passed down through generations, each one a chilling reminder that the open road can be a terrifying place. So, buckle up and get ready for a truly spine-tingling ride. The old Chevy's headlights cut through the dense fog like dull knives, struggling to pierce the thick, ghostly mist, illuminating the desolate stretch of highway ahead, a lonely path shrouded in mystery. John, weary from a long day's drive, gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white in the dim glow of the dashboard, his mind racing with thoughts of home. He was running late, later than he'd ever been, and the thick blanket of fog only amplified his unease, making every mile feel like an eternity. A lone figure shrouded in shadow materialized from the fog, their thumb extended in the universal plea for a ride, a sight both eerie and compelling. John hesitated. He wasn't supposed to pick up hitchhikers, company policy, but something in the figure's stance, a certain desperation, tugged at his conscience, making him reconsider. He pulled over, the engine's roar dying with a shuddering sigh, the silence almost deafening in the thick fog. The figure approached, and as they stepped into the pool of light cast by the headlights, John could make out the form of a young woman, her features slowly becoming clear. She was dressed in a simple cotton dress, her dark hair plastered to her forehead by the damp night air, giving her an almost ethereal appearance. Her eyes, wide and filled with a strange, unsettling light, met John's, and a shiver ran down his spine, a primal fear taking hold. "Thank you so much for stopping," she said, her voice a soft, melodic whisper that seemed to slither around the inside of the car, wrapping John in an uneasy embrace. "My name is Sarah. Could you possibly give me a ride to the next town? My car broke down a few miles back," she explained, her eyes pleading. John, unable to shake the feeling of unease that had settled over him, tried to sound nonchalant, masking his growing discomfort. "Sure, no problem. Hop in," he said, forcing a smile. As Sarah settled into the passenger seat, the faint scent of lavender, sweet and cloying, filled the car, a scent that seemed oddly out of place. John tried to ignore it, focusing on the road ahead, his mind racing with questions. He stole a glance at his passenger. Her face, pale and drawn, was illuminated by the passing streetlights, and her eyes seemed to glow with an unnatural intensity, a sight that sent chills down his spine. "So," John said, attempting to break the silence, "what brings you out here on a night like this?" His voice wavered slightly. Sarah turned her head slowly, her eyes boring into John's as if searching his soul. "I'm going home," she replied, her voice barely a whisper, yet it seemed to echo in the confined space of the car. The fog seemed to thicken, pressing in on the car like a suffocating blanket, making the world outside disappear. The air grew heavy, charged with an oppressive energy that made it difficult to breathe, each breath a struggle. John felt a cold sweat prickling at his skin, a physical manifestation of his growing fear. He wanted nothing more than to reach the next town, to be free of this unsettling passenger and the suffocating atmosphere that had invaded his car, a feeling of dread settling in. Miles stretched into an eternity as John drove on, the silence punctuated only by the rhythmic thud of the old Chevy's engine, a sound that seemed to grow louder with each passing moment. He tried to engage Sarah in conversation, but her responses were vague, distant, as if her mind were elsewhere, lost in some otherworldly realm. Finally, the lights of a gas station pierced the fog, a beacon of hope in the oppressive darkness, a sign that the ordeal might soon be over. "Almost there," John muttered, more to himself than to his passenger, a sense of relief washing over him. He pulled into the gas station, relieved to be free of the oppressive atmosphere of the open road, a weight lifting off his shoulders. He turned to Sarah, intending to ask if she needed anything from the shop, but the words died in his throat, replaced by a gasp of shock. The passenger seat was empty. John's blood ran cold, a chill spreading through his body. He spun around, searching the back seat, the floor, anywhere she might be hiding, but there was no sign of her, no trace of her presence. It was as if she had vanished into thin air, leaving behind only questions and fear. Shaking, John stumbled out of the car, his heart pounding in his chest, his mind struggling to comprehend what had just happened. He rushed into the gas station, his mind racing, desperate for answers. He approached the cashier, a burly man with a bored expression, and stammered out his story, his words tumbling over each other. The cashier listened patiently, a knowing smile spreading across his face, as if he had heard this tale many times before. When John finished, the cashier leaned forward and said, "You picked up the hitchhiker, didn't you?" His tone was almost accusatory. John nodded, confused and terrified, his mind reeling from the implications. "Legend has it," the cashier continued, his voice low and conspiratorial, "that a young woman named Sarah was killed in a car accident on this road many years ago, her spirit forever restless. They say her ghost still wanders the highway searching for a ride home, a tragic soul lost in the fog." John stared at him, his blood turning to ice, the reality of his encounter sinking in. He stumbled back to his car, his mind reeling, the weight of the legend pressing down on him. He could still smell the faint scent of lavender, a chilling reminder of the ghostly passenger he had picked up on that desolate stretch of highway, a scent that would haunt him forever. As he drove away, the fog seemed to part, revealing the dark, empty road ahead, a path now filled with the shadows of his memories. John never picked up another hitchhiker, his encounter with Sarah forever etched into his memory, a chilling reminder of the unseen dangers that lurked in the shadows of the open road, a story he would never forget. The old highway stretched out before me like a ribbon of darkness, illuminated only by the pale glow of my headlights, casting eerie shadows on the asphalt. It was known as the Devil's Backbone, a treacherous stretch of asphalt that snaked its way through the mountains, infamous for its hairpin turns and its gruesome history, a place where many had met their untimely end. Locals whispered of countless accidents, of lives claimed by the unforgiving terrain, and more unsettlingly of restless spirits that haunted the road, seeking solace or perhaps revenge. I scoffed at such tales, dismissing them as folklore, the ramblings of superstitious minds. I was a man of logic, of reason, and I refused to entertain such flights of fancy. But as I ventured deeper into the heart of the mountains, the darkness pressing in on me from all sides, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. The air grew heavy, charged with an oppressive energy that seemed to crackle with unseen power. The wind howled through the canyons, a mournful symphony that sent shivers down my spine. My headlights, my only solace in the encroaching darkness, flickered erratically, casting dancing shadows that twisted and contorted into grotesque shapes at the edge of my vision. My heart pounded in my chest, a frantic rhythm against my ribs. I tried to rationalize my fear, to attribute it to the isolation, the darkness, the eerie stories I had dismissed earlier. But deep down, a primal instinct, a deep-seated fear that I couldn't ignore, whispered a chilling truth. I was not alone. A bone-chilling cold seeped into the car despite the heater blasting at full force. My breath formed frosty clouds in the air, and my fingers gripping the steering wheel grew numb and stiff. The temperature plummeted as if an icy hand had reached out from the darkness to clutch at my heart. And then I saw her, a figure standing at the edge of the road, shrouded in shadow, her long dark hair billowing in the wind like a tattered flag. Her eyes, two pinpoints of malevolent light, bored into me, sending a wave of terror crashing over me. I slammed on the brakes, the car skidding dangerously on the slick asphalt. My heart hammered against my ribs, threatening to burst out of my chest. I stared wide-eyed at the apparition, my mind struggling to reconcile what my eyes were seeing. The figure glided towards the car, her movements fluid, unnatural, almost as if she were floating. I could hear the blood pounding in my ears, a deafening roar that drowned out all other sounds. I fumbled for my phone, my hands shaking so violently that I could barely grip it. I needed to call for help, to tell someone, anyone, what I had seen. But as I raised the phone to my ear, the figure vanished, disappearing into thin air as quickly as she had appeared. The oppressive cold lifted, the air returning to its normal temperature. My headlights, no longer flickering, illuminated the empty road ahead. I sat there for a moment, frozen in place, my heart still pounding in my chest. Had I imagined it? Was the isolation, the darkness, playing tricks on my mind? I took a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves. I had to get out of here, to get to safety. I put the car in gear and slowly started driving again, my eyes glued to the road, my mind replaying the terrifying encounter over and over again. The rest of the drive was a blur. I don't remember much of it, only the overwhelming sense of dread that clung to me like a shroud. I didn't see the ghostly figure again, but I could feel her presence, a palpable weight in the car, a whisper of cold air against the back of my neck. I finally reached my destination, a small town nestled in the valley below, just as the first rays of dawn were breaking through the darkness. I had never been so grateful to see the sun rise. I stumbled out of the car, my legs shaky beneath me. I looked back at the road, at the dark winding ribbon of asphalt that snaked its way up into the mountains. I knew then that I would never travel that road again, not after what I had experienced. The Devil's Backbone had lived up to its name, and I was lucky to have escaped its clutches with my life. But the memory of that night, of the ghostly figure with the malevolent eyes, would stay with me forever. A chilling reminder of the unseen forces that lurk in the shadows, waiting to claim the unwary. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for more chilling tales. Remember, every highway has its secrets. Every bend in the road could hold something sinister. Stay safe out there, and remember, sometimes the scariest things happen when you least